From CBS 47 and Fox 30, you're watching This Week in the 904.
Welcome to This Week in the 904. I'm your host, Emily Turner. This is a community affairs show, and we focus on politics, public policy, and the issues that affect our local communities here. And joining us today is Paul Renner, a candidate for governor. Thank you so much for your time.
Emily, great to be with you.
Yeah, it's kind of back home-ish a little bit for you.
For sure. I grew up here, went to Terry Parker High School, and spent a lot of my life, all my growing up years here, and it was a great place to grow up in Jacksonville.
Well, for folks who may not know your whole background, tell us a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
kind of how you got here.
Yeah, so preacher's kid. My dad was a minister, my mom a teacher, and so I joke that God must have known I needed more instruction every day. But I grew up in Arlington, and as I said, played baseball at Rondet, went to school at Terry Parker, and went away to college at Davidson, came back in the Navy here in Jacksonville on the USS McInerney out at Mayport. It was in Operation Desert Storm, the first of two wars and 20 years in the military of service to the country. Went on to University of Florida Law, was a prosecutor down in South Florida, and then of course a legislator and Speaker of the House for two, what I would consider, most people would, very conservative, very consequential legislative years during Ron DeSantis' tenure as governor.
And what have you been doing since your last term ended?
So still practicing law. I've done some things in classical education. I've done some things with James Madison, a conservative think tank. I've stepped away from those things and really kind of doing the governor's race full time right now.
What made you decide you wanted to run for this position?
Well, it was a lot of thought that went into it. One is I don't want to see us go backwards. The governor's done a great job, and none of us want to see a step back. We want people who are going to lean in to leadership. This is a big leadership role, and I think that's a differentiator in this race. And I've got young kids, so I think about the future. Though if we're honest, we don't, with young kids, we don't think about the future at all unless they're asleep. So we don't have time to think about the future.
And then it's, what laundry do I have to do tomorrow? Yeah.
And then a lot of prayer. I mean, I prayed a lot about this. It was not something that I was really looking to do, honestly. And so I've got, other people have gotten a head start, but I'm in this race. I'm in it for the duration. And I believe I'd make the best governor that we have in this race, and a good governor for Florida.
It's interesting because there already is one big name in the race in Byron Donalds, who's been endorsed by Donald Trump and has a ton of money. What is it that you thought, this is not the guy for the job? I have to be the one that does it.
Well, I wouldn't criticize Byron. I would just say really leadership background. It's a huge leadership role, third largest state in the country. He has 20 years in the military, prosecutor, very successful state speaker, and a record of proven results, as well as the question of, based on that, who do you trust to take whatever comes our way? We had COVID under Governor DeSantis, did a great job. But I think for a job like this, you want somebody who's a can't miss. And you look at who's had leadership under pressure, positions of trust. I've had that since I was a 23-year-old on the USS McInerney during wartime, responsible for navigating through mine-infested waters and destroying mines with an EOD team and that type of thing. And my whole life has been that. And so I'm ready to serve on day one and be a great governor for Florida.
Well, I mean, if there is a simile for that, politics is very much a minefield, is it not?
It is, that's right.
When it comes to, because it's interesting for folks who are more in the know on the state level, or really up to the federal level, this kind of proxy war between DeSantis and Trump. Where do you fall in this? And then how are you going to navigate that over the next year?
Well, I guess I'm not participating in any crossfire, but I believe we need a united party. I've said in all my public appearances that if you like what we've done in Florida, I helped build it, the free state of Florida, and you'll like what a Governor Renner does as a continuation of Governor DeSantis, but also be a great partner for President Trump, unequivocally. I think he's done a great job in these first 9 months or so, and so you'll get both. I'm a guy who believes in criticism behind closed doors, praise in public. Criticize in private, praise in public. It's one of the things I learned in the military, along with focusing on the mission. And I think why we were successful when I was speaker is get the ego, get the politics, get the pettiness out of the way, and just focus on solving problems for people in Florida, the people that you represent. And we did that during my 2 years, and that's why we got so much done.
Under DeSantis and during the time that you were in the legislature, there have been some major changes in the state of Florida. Some of them more controversial than others, especially as of late under the governor. What would you keep and what would you throw out?
Well, I don't know that I would throw out anything. I was there being supportive in really driving some of that agenda personally, and so I'm proud of what we did. There's always adjustments to be made. I would say one area is on the condo legislation. I think there needs to be a little bit more breathing room for people. This affects a lot of people in South Florida, but even here that have these assessments because they've let things go 10, 20 years. This is what happened in Surfside. So there was an obvious reaction to say never let it happen again. But I think we need to give people some space of time over 5 years or so to make up for that lack of attention to major structural issues. That would be one thing I would adjust from the time that I was in the legislature.
What about when it comes to property taxes? There's a lot of talk now about doing away with them altogether or rolling them back. Where do you stand?
Well, I think property taxes have grown too fast and faster than people's incomes can keep up with. So that's got to be rolled back. I will also put together a proposal, and I'm working on that now, to eliminate property taxes for homeowners with the caveats that I want to make sure we're protecting public safety, education, and infrastructure, those core government services. And I believe we can do that with a replacement that makes sense and move forward so that people don't face that high cost of housing by not having to face property taxes when they get in.
What would you replace the property tax money with?
Well, I'll come out with something more specific, but I think the general direction ought to be something on the consumption side, something that our tourists help pay, whether that's short-term rentals or theme parks or rental cars. I mean, there's different ideas that Representative Chamberlain has proposed that I think is a good framework as a beginning of the conversation. I don't know that that's where we land, but there has to be some form of replacement if you completely get rid of property taxes. But I also think in the short term, you can do some form of rollback without adding any replacement taxes just to get us back to where we should be in line with people's incomes. And that's fundamental to what I believe as a conservative, as a fiscal conservative, is government can never ever grow faster than people's pocketbooks can keep up. And that's happened with property taxes. We've got to bring it down.
I know, between property taxes and the price of eggs. Well, we have so much more to talk about, many more policies to tackle and talk about, and we'll have all of that coming up just after the break.
From CBS 47 and Fox 30, you're watching This Week in the 904.
Welcome back to This Week in the 904. I'm your host, Emily Turner, and with us today is gubernatorial candidate Paul Renner. We were talking about cost of everything these days, but affordability, voters say, is really one of, if not for some, their main issue these days. How do you reach them where they're at?
Well, I believe in leadership by walking around and listening. A good leader ought to listen more than they talk, and that's absolutely what I'm hearing from people is affordability in all areas. We talked a little bit about property tax, and that I'll have a plan to roll back, but also to eliminate homeowners' property taxes while protecting our core services. But auto insurance, homeowners insurance, healthcare, all these things have some levers that we can pull to try to help people. And so when I was speaker, we did major reform on the insurance market for homeowners. We did major litigation reform. We had huge litigation abuse where we had, they called us the litigation hellhole, kind of wild west of litigation, heads I win, tails you lose. We got rid of a lot of that, and we see auto insurance rates across the country are still going up. The only state in the country where it's going down is right here in Florida because of those reforms. And I've heard from major insurers that have already done an 8% reduction. They're coming in with another 10% come January. So we're going to continue to see the benefit from what we did while I was speaker. But there's more to do. On homeowners, we've stabilized homeowners through the similar reforms. But I want to see further home hardening through the My Safe Florida Home program that will match up to $10,000 for you to go in and put in windows, roof tie downs, things like that. If your home was built pre-Andrew building code, you can have a significant savings in your homeowner's insurance just by taking those steps. So I want to see us pursue that, better construction materials, this type of thing. And then we can also talk a little bit about healthcare.
Yeah, well, I mean, health insurance costs are going up as well. I mean, is that something you feel like you can tackle at the state level?
Well, I can if we get rid of Obamacare. And so I've been real clear. I know a lot of Republicans have come to peace with Obamacare. Here's why it doesn't make any sense. My wife and I just bought an oven, and it comes with all these, special features, some of which we'll never ever use, but I had to pay for those features. And the way Obamacare works, for example, I pay for maternal health, prenatal health. I'm not probably going to have a baby. I don't think that's going to likely to happen. But by having the kind of hamstringing of think of a car, like an extra trim levels on everybody's policy, it's artificially driven up the cost. And so if you get all that heavy government regulation out, give it back to the states, make it state-centric with some guidelines from the federal government, I promise you as governor we can have cheaper health care, better quality, and equal or better access.
Well, and you can suggest to our elected leaders in Washington, D.C. that they do that, but what do you do in the meantime?
Well, we do things like transparency, and so for non-emergency care, you ought to be able to walk into an acute care center and know exactly what the prices are. When I was speaker, we set forth 500 different procedures that we're waiting on the federal government to finish some Trump 1 regulations that haven't gotten through the bureaucracy to make sure that you're advised of the price before you pay, before you get that procedure. And then we need to empower patients through shared savings programs so that if you save money on high quality care, you can get a piece of that savings. Right now we go where we're told, we pay what we're told, we get that little thing in the mail that explains where all the money went and what you pay, what your insurer paid. It doesn't make any sense.
And who reads it? I mean, I gave up after a certain point.
Right, I throw it in the trash. And so we price everything, whether it's a car or something else. Our healthcare is very important, and if we just empower patients through transparency, through shared savings, by having more state control and being more responsive to the needs here, I guarantee you we can save money for citizens. Right now, though, that big bill that they're going to see is the result of what the federal government has done by taking healthcare entirely away from states to regulate. And I believe if we get it back as governor, we'll see measured improvement.
Well, speaking of healthcare, you were endorsed by the Stand for Health Freedom.
Right.
What does that mean to you, and why did they endorse you?
Well, I'm very excited, first of all, about that endorsement. I think it's about just getting back to healthy living, whether that's getting rid of ultra-processed foods to shove down our kids' throats in school, giving them healthy, partnering with our farmers. We have a great agriculture sector here. I want to see fresh food delivered into the school cafeteria, and some of our kids may not like that. They prefer the potato chips and everything else.
Dino Nuggets all the way.
Yeah, but that's part of it. It's really making sure we're regulating in parental rights to make sure moms and dads know what's going on. When I was a kid, you went for a fever or a Band-Aid, but there's a lot more happening, and sometimes that's not good. Sometimes people are jumping the gun and making decisions that really need to involve parents. So I'm a big proponent of parental rights. There's a bill in the legislature now to expand that in the area of health care and making sure you know what's happening with your kids' health care when it's a substantial issue beyond a Band-Aid or an aspirin. And so that's part of it, as well as looking at making sure that we make those decisions between a parent and a pediatrician, not the CDC and a pediatrician. I think it's very important that we empower parents over their children's health care.
So then on that note, talking about immunizations for school-aged children, where do you stand on rolling those back?
Well, many countries in Europe don't have those mandates, and so it's really about, if you have to have a mandate, to me that says that you can't make the case for the value of a vaccine. Now, personally, I've had my kids vaccinated. I see the value on the benefit side, but there is a cost side. People do get vaccine injuries. I think that's up to a parent and a physician to have that conversation and weigh out the costs and benefits. What's also changed, Emily, is many, many more vaccines. So kids are getting, multiple vaccines in one setting earlier in time. That alone can create a problem with a vaccine injury. We need to be open about the science, give parents full information. In those countries where they don't have mandates, vaccine rates are still very, very high. I'm not anti-vaccine, but I want to make sure we empower parents to make that decision with full information with their pediatrician, and not the CDC telling you you're going to take this shot, like a rotavirus, where your kid's going to get better. They're not going to die from a rotavirus. Maybe I say, I'm not taking that one. Or COVID, that doesn't really affect young kids as it did older people that have comorbidities. That's one I'm not getting for my kids. But polio, yes. The things that would kill them, I look at the costs and benefits as a parent, and my decision with my pediatrician is, I want my kids to have that shot.
Yeah, it's interesting. UNF did a poll that just came out, and I think it was 48% strongly oppose it, which was a lower number than I anticipated. It's very clear that at least the public opinion on vaccines is changing.
I think my position, I wouldn't say it's changed, because I've always been a big parental rights proponent. We did universal school choice. We did a medical freedom bill to make sure that you don't get fired if you don't have a COVID shot, or they don't fail to hire you because you just said, I don't want to get a COVID shot. But I think in this area, I've been educated about the number of shots that kids get. I had no idea that it's just escalated, even after COVID, that are now mandated. And so should all those shots be mandated? I would say no, absolutely not. And so I want to eliminate the mandates, put full information in front of parents. They're going to talk to pediatricians are going to talk about the benefits, and just as I did, and you probably did with your family, look and say, okay, I know there's always a risk with a vaccine, but I see a benefit for this particular one, but maybe I want to pause on this one, or I want to space those out. Like the MMR vaccine is one that maybe should be broken up into 3 as opposed to 1. So there's a lot of people that have concerns about this. I want to make sure we put the science in front of parents, let them make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to talk about, and one of them, those specific topics, is a little bit closer to home, so stick around and we'll get into that in just a moment.
From CBS 47 and Fox 30, you're watching This Week in the 904.
Welcome back to This Week in the 904. I'm your host, Emily Turner. We're talking to Paul Renner running for governor. We're talking about a lot of issues at like the state level, even up to the federal level. But one issue close to home for I think anybody who pays attention is the development of state parks. We had Anastasia State Park. There was the issue at Guana Tolomato State Preserve. Again, it's a whole long name, of which people came out in droves. It was very bipartisan.
Yep. I was one of them.
Yeah. So and I guess I know where you stand, but I mean, I imagine the push, and not I imagine, there is still a strong push for development of state parks. So what do you do?
No way, not happening under Governor Renner. And look, one of the great things about our state is we have these wild sections. We have one of the best state park systems in the country. And I was a big champion of the Florida Wildlife Corridor, setting aside wild Florida for the next generation. It helps with our aquifer recharge and our environment. Lots of good reasons to do that, but I will never, ever develop our state parks. And if anything, I want to see some expansion through land conservation easements to make sure we're preserving really great places. And I also care about the environment a great deal. I want to make sure we can fish in the St. Johns River, catch those fish, and eat those fish safely. So making sure we maintain that quality of life as Floridians, I think, is very, very important to many of us.
Well, and I wasn't anticipating that, but you talk about the St. Johns River. So one of the issues that the next governor will likely face is the Rodman Dam.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that?
Well, more time than we have to talk about. I'm sensitive to the fact that there's an environmental concern, but there's also a people concern. And it's grown, this ecosystem has grown up around the people in Putnam County. So I would want to have a much longer conversation about that than we have time for today. But on the environment as a whole, I want to see, I care about water supply, water treatment, water quality, making sure we're setting aside some of wild Florida, and again, keeping our parks the best in the country through not developing those parks commercially.
Well, and you are a veteran, and we have a huge veteran population here, specifically Navy, but everybody. What is your commitment to that community?
Well, it's big because I spent a lot of my life in the military. It matters a lot to me. I'm the only veteran in the race. You spoke about the Navy. We have an Army General, Pat Maney, who's a representative out of Okaloosa County, who is running our Veterans Coalition. We've got a great group of people that are behind it, and we're having conversations about how do we take a very, very veteran-friendly state and make it even better. One of the things I did as speaker was to commission a very deep study on hyperbaric oxygen treatment to treat PTSD and really any trauma. So think of a crime victim, anybody that's gone through a trauma in life, and this can potentially heal the brain and allow people to go out in society and do things and not have some of the terrible suicides and terrible social anxiety that men and women have faced after coming back from a wartime situation. These issues matter a lot to me personally, and so we're going to make sure we take care of our veterans.
Before you can make it into the race technically for governor, you've got to beat your Republican opponent, Byron Donalds. How do you see yourself doing that?
Leadership, leadership, leadership. And again, I said in the earlier part of the segment, it's about who's had positions of trust their entire life, who's had that experience, but also proven results. And when you replace someone like Governor DeSantis, you don't want to take a step backwards. He's been a great governor, really a lean-in governor. I've also done that with him in school board races. I've done that with him in opposing some of these radical amendments that are funded by out-of-state billionaires who want to jam their ideas into our state constitution. That's somebody that says, okay, I'm going to go beyond what comes to my desk as governor. I'm going to go outside that. And I did that as speaker with the governor, and I'll be that kind of governor for Florida. It'll look very similar. Great continuation of Governor DeSantis' legacy, but also a great partner for President Trump.
It's interesting you bring up outside influence in Florida. I think that on the surface you might think, oh, it's the governor's race and it really applies to Florida. But like as we saw with Randy Fine's race, what a bulk of the fundraising for his opponent came from out of state.
Yep. How
in this race are you going to tackle the national issues where they want to see them play out here? I mean, things like immigration, for example.
Yeah. Well, our motto is Florida first. That's what we're campaigning on. Is I'll be a governor I'm not running for anything other than governor, and focus on all these issues like guana. That you've got to get in the weeds. You got to care about these issues, but they affect real people, and they're really, really important. And the national issues are certainly important. And I think Congressman Donalds has done a good job at the federal level, and it'd be great for him to stay there. But I think I'm the right guy for Florida based on leadership experience, results, proven results, leadership under pressure, and I'm someone you can trust no matter what comes your way, and that's what we want in the next governor.
I mentioned it, but it kind of brings that to mind too, because the immigration issue is a topic that, as a governor, you can't ignore. Do you see yourself moving in the same direction that DeSantis is with the detention centers, or is that something you'd back off of? How do you play that moving forward?
No, I would lean in and be a great partner with the president in making sure we're a resource and we're a partner with the federal government in that regard. This president's done a great job of closing the border. We have human trafficking, drugs, all these things that are coming in that we have to stop. It's a huge cost of free education, free health care, and so we have to make sure we correct that as well. And so we can get to a point where we can have a conversation about immigration, but we've got to stop the illegal immigration.
Is that going to be a tough sell in parts of the state like South Florida?
I think done right, not at all. And I think a lot of people in South Florida that I talk to don't want all those groups that have come in, like Tren de Aragua from Venezuela. We have a lot of, as the president would say, bad hombres that have come in through that system, and we've got to control our border, number one, and he's done a great job with that, and then round up some of these people that are committing sex crimes against children. I mean, some horrific stuff. Nobody wants those people in this country, and so we need to get them out ASAP, and I think those detention centers help accomplish that, and so we'll keep them as long as we can, as long as we need them.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode of This Week in the 904. We are making our way through the gubernatorial candidates, so we will see who is on next. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for watching This Week in the 904.